Welcome back, everybody, to Real Estate Junkies Coast to Coast. I'm your co-host, Rusty Ham, on the West Coast.
And I'm Rick Abbiati on the East Coast.
Hey, Rick, this is a late podcast, right? Should have went out this morning, but I went out to Scottsdale Monday and Tuesday, so we didn't have time to film it. But on today, we're gonna get you guys behind the scenes. So if you're on audio, it's just gonna be audio. Sorry about that. So if you want to jump onto our YouTube channel and watch what we did in office hours today, we go over a couple deals, and then we go over a contract. Rick, describe the contract part.
So yeah, this particular contract was a sub-2 owner finance hybrid. So this is one where the seller has a first mortgage and it's an owner finance of their equity portion of it. So we do go through that, and you'll find that we do this repeatedly with our associates as coaches. We always go through their contracts and help them with it. And so I think that'll be very useful for people.
Yeah, and then we go over another deal. We go over their motivation. We go through how many touches, right? How many touches these sellers are getting, because you don't get a deal on the first call, right? Not even on the second call, and for sure not on the third call. Usually it's 5, 6, 7 times that you're communicating with these sellers. And and we've talked about, this is the systems part of our podcast, right? We talk about skill sets, mindset, skill set, and system. This technically would be the systems part of the Genius model. And so go for it talk about REI Blackbook and what's coming up with them.
Yep. And just for everybody's knowledge, office hours, we have that every Wednesday afternoon, and that is a general Q&A session. And of course, we have our masterminds and our Wicked Smart sit down and whatnot in our coaching sessions, but this is a general Q&A session. But as far as REI Blackbook, that's our CRM, and it's got our website built into it, all of our websites. And it's got AI built in. It's basically soup to nuts. And however, it takes a long time to configure all the workflows and install everything. And if you're not tech savvy, it can be a real nightmare. It can take hours to do. They're going to be releasing what they call our business in a box. So everything is, you provide them your LLC and your domain name, and they'll set up your website, do all the workflows, have everything set to go for you.
Awesome. Yeah, so enjoy this office hours, and we will catch everybody on the other side. Rick, see you later, buddy.
Great as always, Rusty.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the sub-2 one?
Yeah. So it's a My Plus Leads expired listing. First reached out to the seller 3 months ago, said he wasn't interested, sent him my sell doc, had him on a warm follow-up through REI Blackbook, and he hit on like the second email. He called me back after his seller fell out of contract because they couldn't qualify for a mortgage. I seem to be his only lead right now to sell the house. A couple interesting things about it. It's zoned commercial in a residential neighborhood, and it's also in a heavily rented college area. So he's been renting out for the last 5 years to college students at $500 a month more than market rent. So there's a couple of other exits there besides rent to own if we need. He was an initial lead from my VA, and then I followed up with him. And he's with a realtor, but he's willing just to pay the realtor out of his own pocket just to get it sold with me. So there's a couple good carrots at that deal.
Yeah, what's the motivation? Why? Because we've done college deals in the past where we've rented out rooms to college students, and it can be pretty lucrative. I'm curious why the seller is selling, wanting to get rid of that sort of cash flow that he has.
Yeah, he's with me out of the country.
He's out of the country? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Anybody have questions, comments on that piece of the lead? Kevin, you have
Yeah, I had a question for Lance. When you talked about your warm follow-up, can you tell me what that looks like, how that works with REI Blackbook?
Yes. When I set up REI Blackbook, a little under a year ago that it's just the standard and the base template that's set up for you, that Smart Real Estate Coach set up with REI Blackbook. And then there's a workflow in there called warm follow-up. And once you put your seller into it, it's going to send them text messages if they've opted in the text messages or emails on a periodic basis. So it's like once a month, and it alternates between a text message and a email. I mean, it's just following up with them like, hey, have you sold? The verbiage on the either text message or the email changes from a little bit over time. And then I think the workflow goes on automatically for maybe a year, 8 months, something. And then the last task is for you to verify if the house sold. If it has not sold, restart the warm follow-up. And I've gotten quite a few leads I've been doing this a little under a year. And every once in a while, one of those will hit and you're like, hey, thanks for reaching out. I forgot about you. Yeah, let's talk about my house. Something like that.
Over. Thank you.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Lance. Thanks for the question, Kevin. So before Lance, REI Blackbook, what were you using, or did you go straight to REI Blackbook?
Yeah, I went straight in. So I know they gave a presentation at the last QLS Live where I signed up for High Six, and I knew I was like in it all the way for 3 years. So I didn't want to start off like just putting my toe in the water. High Six right away, Blackbook. I was a little hesitant on the BA, but now I got her working 10 hours a week. And that's really what's pushed me over the top towards my lead goals.
Good. And that leads me into time spent on setting up REI Blackbook versus when you first started, right? Because we want you on the phones right away. We've said that multiple times. How did you, because you're pretty busy, right? How did you make dial? Did you set time aside for dials and then worked on REI Blackbook? Because again, it's ready in the box, sort of, but you still have to make adjustments to those workflows, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've added some, I've made adjustments to some. I don't do the 7 calls. I do 3. That was a suggestion from when I went to In the Trenches from Chris. It's 2 calls in a letter and then a follow-up. So there's 3 calls for me and then they're dead. Because the 7 I was taking after 3 weeks of making calls, that's all I was doing was 7, 8 calls. I wasn't making new calls. To answer your question specifically, I just time blocked. I dedicated 80% of my time towards dialing and 20% of my time towards learning the flows, adjusting them, and setting up REI Blackbook. And in total, it probably tens of hours, probably 50 hours total to become an expert on my workflows and get it set up how I wanted. But it was spread out over time.
Okay. And then I'm glad you brought up the 3 and the 7. Now that you have a VA, you can actually do the 3 and then pawn the other 4 or 5 calls off onto your VA. Have your VAs do those when they have time. They do initials and then they have time. Because I know there's a cold follow-up where you're calling them. Because a cold, you can't really send out a text because we haven't really made contact with them because they haven't opted in. So that was very important that you said opting in. You got to make sure that these sellers are opting in, because if you're texting them without the opt-in, then we recommend not doing that because there's laws against it. So I'm glad you said that, Lance, because it's super important that they opt in, because then you can start sending texts and emails and it's not a problem. I had a VA where you put them in the cold follow-up and the VA was making those dials every 2 months. Hey, did you end up selling? Hey, did you end up selling? And then after the 8th touch, then we created a dead trigger where you put the lead into a dead file. But I think thanks for that, Lance. Let's get that thing signed, man.
Just for everybody's heads up, and it's coming up very soon, REI Blackbook is going to be releasing business in a box. So everything is going to be pre-configured, set up, installed, everything for you. It's a one-time cost, and I don't know exactly what that cost is, but if you provide them with your LLC and your domain name, they will completely set up your website for you and tailor everything for you, set up all the workflows for you. So it's basically log in and go.
And then there's an AI bot, right? So when you do get a phone call, it's going to AI generate the transcript and basically tell you what you need to do next. I think it's a workflow, right?
I saw that podcast today on the REI blog.
The Smart Real Estate Coach podcast.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Cool.
Yep. And they just made a change recently where you can open the lead sheet right from the contact screen on the right hand panel.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, because you have to search in there to get that lead sheet,
Yeah.
and then that lead sheet is catered towards our lead sheet, so that'll be good for people that because what we do as coaches, if someone wants us to call the lead, we ask for the lead sheet, and we want you to download it in the Slack message. So that'd be cool that they can just be exactly like how we have our lead sheet, and it's just you just type it in while you're talking to the seller. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And I've asked them to make some changes to the lead sheet to make it identical to our lead sheet. So they're working on that.
That's awesome. Kevin.
Let's pretend that you're not that technically savvy. You're technically challenged like me, and I'm sure a lot of other people. So when we start talking about REI Blackbook and things, is there somewhere that we can go where we could get some type of a tutorial that walks us through and says, okay, you have it. This is where you begin. This is where step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 versus
the videos are the ones that are in ARC on the 7 steps to a taken and the buyer process. However, there's also with that instructions on how to set it up, which is very time consuming. And that's what Business in a Box is going to do for you. Everything will be pre-set up for you and you just go.
Right. So there's videos though that are in ARC.
Yeah.
That will walk us through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know how much they're going to charge for that yet?
I don't. Damon Remy is going to be on, I think it's either the Mastermind or Wicked Smart Sit Down. I believe it's the 22nd.
Okay.
It's coming up. Yeah, I think it's 22nd.
Because I just paid MJ to set mine up. It was super cheap.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you have a VA that's REI Blackbook savvy, then that's huge. I did the same thing. I hired MJ and she just dove right in. She fixed a couple things for me. And it's been awesome. Kevin, there is an REI Blackbook Slack channel. I'm not sure if you're part of it or if you're on it. I don't know if maybe you should check Slack to see. And if you go to the very beginning, I think it's December of 23, maybe. If I'm not mistaken, December 20th, 23, Rick created a video on how to set up the workflows and all that. But like you said, it's going to be done for you. So you don't have to do it.
So we could either A, go Business in a Box, or B, maybe we could get an intro to MJ for some.
Yeah. So there's going to be, if you do the Business in the Box, there's going to be, it's going to be higher than, we don't know. It's going to be, it'll be higher than what it is now. So it depends what you want to spend to get that Business in a Box. But if you want to just, you get the bare minimum and then have a VA set it up for you, you can do that as well.
And the Business in a Box sets up your website and everything too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say MJ didn't set up all my website and stuff. She used it all to lead the flows and all the flows, which was awesome. But I still had to go in and do stuff. So that would be a difference.
Yeah. Very cool. Richard.
Is there somewhere where I can get the transcript or the videos that are in the associates of the different?
Yeah, that we don't have. There's a third-party company. There's third-party companies that you can upload those videos and it'll transcribe it for you, like Temu. I think it's TEMU. Has a nominal cost for that. It's pretty cheap.
Am I able to get to that though? Because it's not in Apprentice. It's only in Associate.
Correct. Correct.
Well, how do I get a hold of the transcript?
There is also an app, which is what I used.
An app for the videos?
No, an app where you just play the video and it's called Otter for your phone. OTTER. Otter.
Yeah. So Richard, what he's saying is go to their website, Original RE, and then click on the videos. and then and just record it into your phone, and it'll transcribe it for you.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Good questions. Yeah, it's huge. You want to do it yourself, right? The animated videos are great, but you want your face plastered all over your websites. I got my ugly mug on there, so you guys can do it too.
Yeah. It usually only takes like 50 takes to record it.
50. Double that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could tell because I did these, I don't know, 3 years ago probably. And you can see I'm like totally reading. And then probably should redo it since I'm more confident now. Now that we have a podcast, Rick, we got some good things on. David, talk about your AO that you're doing. What's the story with your AO?
I've been talking to her since October of last year when it expired the first time. She's a ex-realtor broker in town here. She was wanting to move to California, back home to California, but she decided she was going to try and sell it herself. So at the end of last year, she tried to sell it. And then we talked again like January, February, and she had no luck. And then the reason we went with the AO at that time was in February, she wanted to sell it for $695 or something, which I knew was way over price. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she was looking to rent it. And her other option, I'm just going to rent the rooms. And I'm like, okay, I can get you better if you're interested. And so we talked about that. And then she kind of latched onto the AO. And now 3 months later, she's back to reasonable at the 500 price.
Yeah.
But she still is, I may just rent the rooms. I don't know. I'm like, she's trying to work all these different angles all at one time. And I'm like, you got to just pick one and go with it for a little bit. She is talking that she had just gotten done working with 3 different realtors with 3 different contracts who could sell it first type thing. And that didn't work out. She's all over the place on what she thinks she's going to sell this or how she's going to sell it. So.
Okay. Yeah. So
No.
describe that. Same as Lance. Describe that. So first contact was October of 24.
Correct.
What was the process? Like, what were your touches? Describe that, how that process worked.
Let me see if I remember. I believe I think I just did the calls. I don't remember how many calls I made. Hang on a second. Let me pull her up.
So you basically just every once in a while you'd call her and say, hey, how's it going? Did you sell your property yet? Type of things.
Exactly. I think the first call was I think it was an expired, was she looking to sell it? And she was. But then she blew me off a little bit. So in that first call. So I don't even remember. I can't even, where's she gone? Oh, okay. I don't remember the history behind this exactly. Now that you asked me.
Yeah, putting you on the spot. The moral of the story is that you contacted her first in October. You just kept in touch with her. And now you're solving a problem, right? She thought she can do this. She thought she can do that. At the end of the day, and this is for everybody, right? Just because somebody ghosts you, and that's why we pull back. That's why we teach you guys to pull back, because things like this happen, right? So it's super important. So AO 500, you're going to upsell it, get a tenant buyer in there, split the down payment, hopefully create some cash flow for her, and then get her cashed out in 24 months.
It is free and clear. She owns it outright. Tried to go the owner finance route first, and she didn't like that. She didn't want to go long term. And that was the other thing in the February call was she wanted to go shorter term as well. So
yeah, we've talked about that too, right, Rick? Those are if they want money up front, if they want a shorter term, then we usually, like in our area, me and Janice, all we do is talk to $1 million people. So it's usually, that's our radar. Our radars go up once we talk to somebody. That's all we talk to is people that are in the $1 million range. Really expensive homes, high mortgage payments, shorter terms, want money up front. That's when we typically pivot to the lease purchase, executive lease purchase. And then we call it an executive lease purchase for a reason. They would typically gain those 3 paydays. We have a 3 payday system. So they get the down payment, they get the cash flow, they get the markup so they get everything that we get. So that's why we call it an executive lease purchase. Kevin.
Oh, there it is. Easy question for you guys. I get somebody on the phone. I go through the initial dial. I get to the point. Are you still curious if you're still interested in selling? No. Click. Okay. What do you call them right back and say, geez, we got disconnected? Do you just blow it off? What would you do? How do you handle it?
People are different. Chris says sometimes he'll call back just if he's in a good mood and he wants to laugh. He'll call him back, right? And he'll say, hey, we got disconnected. And some people will say, no, you didn't get disconnected. I hung up on you. And then you have a nice laugh about it. So you could, if you're like the other day when you were super tired, you probably wouldn't do that. But if you're in a good mood after you went golfing,
I call them back.
yeah, call them right back. Say, hey, we got disconnected.
Usually they don't answer.
That's good. That's fine. Just leave a message. Hey, we got disconnected. I was just curious if you're still looking to sell. Call me back. I like that. That was a good question. Huh? Yeah.
Thank you.
Janice.
I just wanted to shift my mind about or discuss how I should have shifted my mind quickly when I was talking to the seller with a negative 500 cash flow. My mind immediately went to AO when I heard that it was that much of a difference. But he was going to lose money if he did sell to a realtor. So I should have gotten that fact first so that I could not have him hang on to the AO. But I should have put subject to on the table earlier. Is that just the sequence of questions?
Yeah, -5. Yeah, and Rick, maybe you can chime in here, but -5 is, you don't want to take that on, right? What you could have done, what was the price of the home?
So there's this guy that you left a message for. I don't think he called you back, Chantry.
Right.
So 675 he's asking with the realtor, but he already said, if you're buying direct, I'd be willing to drop. So that, because I know I'm saving. So I was thinking maybe I should have immediately gone to 650 in my head and then used that 500 times that 24 to make up for that equity that I got from him if it was subject to.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to, is that you take the payday 1
Yeah.
and you compensate, you use that as to make up for the 500. You can do that. We don't recommend it, but you do that. Or you say, or here's what we're going to do, Mr. Seller. Instead of coming out of pocket with a realtor, how about you just $500 a month you're coming out of for 2 years, which is going to turn out to be X amount. You can use the down payment from the tenant buyer to pay that. And then now you get cashed out and you don't lose all that money with realtor fees and commissions and all that.
Yeah. So in this case, subject to and AO both work.
Yeah. Again, we don't recommend you using your payday 1 to compensate for the negative cash flow, because that needs to be sitting there in case something else happens. Rather, if a tenant buyer decides not to pay, then you need to actually pay the mortgage rather than the $500 a month.
Okay.
No, that's good though. These are good things, right? Because now going to the next one, if there is some negative cash flow, you can say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, we can do this. You know, you can take portion of your down payment and put it towards the mortgage."
Yeah. And then later on, when we're further along with more deals, then we can take on negative 500 a month.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. I'll keep calling him.
Because that's steep. -5 is steep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Lance, let's go over your deal real quick.
Yep, sounds good.
So, Rick, I'm glad you're on because you can help with this. So you're giving 10 grand up, right?
Yeah.
So the deposit is going to be $100.
Okay.
Additional deposit. Is that where he puts the 10 grand, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you're going to take out this part right here
Okay.
and then put 10 grand here.
Under additional deposit.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you're going to do 415, right? -100, -10. here.
Okay. Got it. Total minus those 2 deposits.
Yeah.
Yep. And mortgagee is the person that's on the loan.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So we'll begin making payments. Due. That's huh?
30 days after closing. Or one, you can put 1 month after closing.
Okay, that's the next month, but they just put 30 days, so in case it closes later.
No, because it's going to be commencing, you're paying it in arrears.
Okay. So yeah, so I put the close on June 12th or something like that.
Yes.
And-
Every July 12th.
Yeah, you want the 15th.
So make the payment on the 15th.
Yep.
Okay, whatever 30 days is.
If it's going to close in June, beginning of June, then you want to put the 15th day of July.
Okay, even if his payment's due July 1st, so he would make that first payment then?
No,
He would make
Because-
that July payment.
you have a grace period.
Okay.
But you can put on or before the 15th day of July.
On or before. Okay.
Take out all this stuff
Okay.
and the lines and the X. Just put secured by a valid purchase money.
Mortgage.
This would be a second mortgage, right?
Mortgage, yeah. Okay.
Not a first mortgage, right?
Yes.
Second mortgage.
Yep.
So take all the lines out, take first and third out.
Okay.
Just leave second.
And you want to take out anything referring to interest.
So just don't even put zero, just don't even put it in there. Okay.
Because that's going to say, geez, I should charge interest on this.
Okay. So just completely get rid of it. Okay.
Yep. And then you're going to,
So after property, put period and just take all that out.
yep.
Okay.
And then that next paragraph, get rid of that
This?
because it's got if financing includes interest, you want that out of there.
Okay. Yeah, don't bring it into his mind.
Take that out. $300. Is that in addition to the PITI?
Yeah, so that's me making a payment on his seller financing. His portion of seller financing.
Yep. And I would put again 15th day of each month.
15th day. Okay.
And then delete the next paragraph.
This one or this?
Yeah. No, just that one.
This one.
So we're 48 months paragraph after that. Okay.
And you can just put 48 months on that one. Take
On or-
out.
Yeah, put on or before.
Okay, get rid of the date on that. Okay.
And then it's on or before.
On or before 48 months.
Yep.
Excuse me, are these forms editable or,
Yes.
okay, so I don't need to buy any software to,
No.
It's a Word document that I got from Sue that I think will be being uploaded into ARC.
thank you.
And then the paragraph, the last one there, shall be due on sale of the property.
Okay, so just get rid of that X. And
Yeah.
get,
Yeah.
Okay, take that out.
and that's all good. We don't need a default clause unless the seller asks for it.
Okay.
But the
We-
default clause would, what's that?
We've had big conversations about, okay, what happens if you don't make payments? And I gave them the standard, but we don't miss payments. We're in business to make money, like what we usually say.
Yeah, when
We ask for a default clause or anything.
yeah, if they were to ask for one, it's just going to be Roman numeral 5, and it just says that basically it says that if the buyer payments are more than 31 days late, and I'd say 3 times over the period of the term, then the deed automatically transfers back to the seller.
So this is 4. You just make a 5th one, Roman number 5 underneath that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you still leave in that line number 3 about that it should be credited to interest first and then principal? Or just adjust, so it just says directly to principal or something?
Yeah, you put it directly to principal.
Okay. Good catch. Thanks, Brian.
Yep. So just remove interest from that. So when you figured out, let's see, the closing date, you have a buyer contingency in there?
I don't. So the property I'm taking over their tenants is leased out to 3 college boys
Okay. All
for
right.
a year starting on May 25th.
Okay.
I figure that'd be good. It gives me time to that year to market it to a rent-owned buyer or keep going with college rentals.
So it is a lease purchase.
This is subject to owner finance.
Oh, okay.
Under costs, just get rid of all those lines and the X's.
Okay.
And buyer shall pay for title insurance.
So take that out.
So just delete that the first one entirely.
Take that out. You're deleting the and/or if checked seller.
Okay, just say
If it's the buyer one.
Okay, got it.
And then conversely, you're going to take out the buyer one if it's the seller being checked.
Okay.
And
then
then this one, you're gonna take this out, check this, and put seller shall pay for standard closing costs.
okay.
Yeah, standard seller closing costs.
You'll put that right there. Take that line out and just make it cleaner.
Okay.
Yeah. And on number 2, where it says shall pay for title search and standard buyer closing fees.
Okay.
Do you guys have them us pay for the title search and the title insurance?
Yeah.
In our state, it's standard for the sellers to do that. So that's what I put in my contracts.
Oh, yeah, you can do that if that's what the state says.
Anyone can. It's just standard that sellers pay to make sure they have legal rights to sell it.
Okay.
I'll look into that. I'll ask a realtor friend and make it whatever the Georgia standard is.
Yep.
This is too late. So make this by Christmas Day 7 so Saturday the 17th.
Okay.
You want FOMO, right? You want them to sign it as soon as possible.
Yeah. So 3 days from whenever I sent it to him.
But it can be flexible. We just don't let that.
No, yeah, I get that. You want to create that urgency.
Yeah. And then remove that buyer contingency paragraph under resell.
Okay. So keep the rest of resell, but just that bolded part, get rid of it.
This should be warranty deed, right?
Yep.
Sufficient.
Is that what it is in your state? Liz?
I don't know. I'll have to check my first
So right between sufficient and D needs to be warranty.
warranty deed on 13. Okay.
Yeah, you want to check the state though, because
Right.
Massachusetts has quitclaim deed.
Okay.
And the rest of that is pretty standard stuff.
You're not inheriting any tenants or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I am taking over the tenants.
Oh, need to put that in there.
Okay. I thought that was already up further in the document. 'Cause
You're right. I think it's in.
it talked about getting the security deposit, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you have down here?
That's the note that Rick told me to put in there about the land contract. Because the
Okay.
owner's concerned about title transferring prior to the mortgage being paid off.
Yep. The attorneys take care of that part.
Okay. And then I'll take this and take it to a national title. And then I think they coordinate with the Georgia attorney.
Cool. Yeah, just make those changes, put it back in there. We'll do another once over and
You want me to send it to you again after the changes or good to go?
yep.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Comments, questions, ahas on filling out a subject to. That was a hybrid subject to. There was an owner financing component to it. So we call it a subject to owner financing hybrid.